Hello and welcome to another episode of Success with Sabrina Podcast. I have the delightful Loubna Zarrou here today. She is a multi-award winning strategic dynamo who is globally recognized for her extraordinary skill of being able to mentor entrepreneurs to gain clarity, focus, and momentum. Loubna regularly speaks on the importance of strategy, planning, and the science of happiness to increase their impact, influence, and income. Loubna is a genuine superstar in productivity and momentum, and it's an honor to have you here on the show today. Thank you so much, Loubna.
Oh, wow. Now that is an introduction. Thank you for having me.
Yes. I'm so excited to dive into some of the things that we talk about with every guest speaker is what is your personal definition of success? What does success means to you?
Oh, success to me means feeling fulfilled. So doing what I'm really good at and what I enjoy doing each and every day, because that is what success is for me.
Yeah. And how did you come about to define this? How much time did you dedicate to know what success means to you?
Well, honestly, it took me many years because I was raised, like most people, I believe, with the mantra, just work hard and you will achieve the success that you want. So that's exactly what I did for many years until I got a glimpse into my future through one of my deputy directors of the job that I was at, because one day the director came in and basically told us that she was not going to come back in many months because she was diagnosed with a burnout. Now, and this deputy director looked a lot like me, had the same passion, the same ethic, the same stamina, the same everything. I mean, we've worked a couple of nights, very long days together. And that was really when it hit me. I thought, oh my God, if it can happen to her, then I can end up in a burnout because we give the same energy to work. So I thought, and I don't want that to happen to me. I just don't. And that spurred me onto a discovery journey of, I want to find out and discover as many ways as I can to still work smarter and achieve the ambitions and goals and success that I want, but not by working harder, not by going towards a burnout. And that meant first to define what success meant to me. Was it coming up the corporate ladder? No, I couldn't care less. As long as I was doing what I enjoy doing, what I'm really good at, I could care less about the titles. So that's how I started.
How is success looking like for you today?
Oh, I get to wake up each and every day and choose what I want to spend my time on, whether it's at work, and I enjoy my work really well. So I love doing it. It doesn't feel like work to me in any way, shape or form. But also the freedom. So for example, when my nieces are here, I can choose to shut down the laptop and spend the day with them. So I can see them grow up and they can get to know me more. So the freedom to be able to choose, okay, I'm going to drop this now, I'm going to spend time to something else, is what I absolutely enjoy doing.
Yes, I love that, and part of the people that we love to interview are people like yourself that are breaking the mold, that are doing something different, right? So how do you actually go against the mainstream?
I think that what I see a lot of people do is keep trying to fill in the gaps on things that they're not good at, or try to live up to expectations set by other people, whether they're friends, colleagues, managers, it doesn't matter. So they're living someone else's life.
Yeah.
And what I do, and it's very early on made the decision, is I want to have fun while working. I want to enjoy what I do, and I want to play to my strengths. So not try to learn something that I'm not really good at. For one, it will take me many hours to get to a certain level, but I will never be great at it. So why even bother? There are a lot of people for whom it is strengths. So play to my strengths, be very clear that that means that there are some things that I enjoy doing and that there are some things I will never do. Yes. Even when it was managers asking you to do something. I mean, I'm known as the person who said no quite a few times and got away with it.
Now, Loubna is the queen of productivity. So I want to dive right into that. And I want to ask you, what have you done differently from the mainstream? And what have you done the same when it comes to productivity?
Yeah. Well, first of all, productivity, what a lot of people don't know is that you have productivity zones. So certain periods of time during the day when you are most productive. And it is finding out when those times are, because if you get to work in those chunks of time, then you get more done and you free up other time. It is when we try to work against ourselves that it takes us about twice or 3 times as long as when we do. So one, find out what your productivity zone is and when you are. Now, for me, that's not in the morning. My most productive time is between after lunch for about 2 hours, and then again between 5 and 7 p.m. I do, in those blocks of time, I do the same amount of work that takes another person 8 hours.
That's so crazy to hear that, Loubna, because most people are needing extra coffee right after lunch because they're just feeling the afternoon, it's just like this dark cloud that comes and you're like, oh gosh, if I can just make it through this day. But for you, it's the opposite. Huh? How did you come to find that out? You just started observing? Did you take notes? Did someone bring it up to your attention? How did you actually nail it down? Like, this is the most productive time of my day.
Yeah. Well, one is I've read a lot about personal development and a lot about performance and productivity. And in one of those books, and I can't remember which one exactly, I was introduced to the concept of when are you most productive? And I thought, really? There is a certain time. And one of the advices in that book was keep a journal for a couple of days. You only need about 3 or 4 days. Keep a journal of time chunks. What do you do in a 30-minute time chunk, and how do you feel about it, and what were you productive? And if you do that for a couple of days, you'll find out when the periods of time when you're working against yourself and when you are working in flow in your productivity zone. So that's one way I discovered. The second concept I just mentioned is the concept of flow. So it's a chunk of time where you do not have any idea about time. You're completely consumed with what you're doing, and you're doing a lot of work in the shortest amount of time. So it's tapping into your productivity zone as well as creating flow states, which you can create as much as you can, because then literally you go in, do the work, get out. You switch to another task, or you switch to something else that you want to be doing at that day. So I think that that's really important to find out.
Yeah, I love what you're saying about the flow, because I think that sometimes we don't even recognize that we're in the flow, right? But then we look back at our day and we're like, wow, time is a relative concept, right? Like, it's not linear like most people think. And so time can be slowed down, or it can be, fastened, right? Depending on what you're doing and how much you're enjoying and really in the flow or not. So that's really.
Yeah. Well, as long as you realize time is a man-made concept. Yeah. We created time. It didn't exist until we created it. And it's about what you do in a certain time chunk that's important. It's not about a lot of time, because the more time you give it to a certain task, you're going to fill up the entire chunk of time. So it is about what do you do in that chunk of time, and are you playing to your strength? Are you in flow? Are you getting to that place where you can do as much as you can in a certain piece? Because then you can move on instead of trying to do something that will take you 3 times as long.
Yeah, now you speak a lot about the importance of strategy and planning, and how can you plan and be strategic about being more productive?
Oh, that's a very, very cool question. Well, one of the things that people say a lot about me is, you're always so busy. I even get people telling me, well, I didn't reach out to you because I thought she must be too busy to have time for me. And whenever someone says that to me, I said, well, I have time. I really still have chunks of time during my day where I have nothing, where I do nothing potentially. And I still sleep at least 8 hours a day. So people are thinking, oh my God, she's got so much to do. I better not, which is a worse place to be as an entrepreneur when potential clients are thinking, oh, she's too busy. I better not reach out. And I'm like, no. So what people see is when I've got a goal, so I'm very strategic. What do I need to do to achieve a certain goal? And I'm very specific about that, very clear about that. And when I know the goal, I translate that in actions to achieve. And with every action, I ask, okay, what's the contribution to my goal? If I can't answer that question, it's not the right action. Yeah. And as soon as I've got that clear, then I can go in, do the work, get out.
Love that. Now, Loubna, these are challenging times that we're living in. What are some of the biggest challenges that you are facing in your business right now?
Ooh, well, first of all, I love challenges. So it doesn't worry me. I mean, give me a challenge and I really get juiced up, a lot of energy and a lot of heart goes into it. I'm like, okay, let's go. This is my playground. So I don't have the connotation that most might have, that they're thinking, oh, this is going to be hard. I light up with a challenge. Please give me something that people will say is impossible to do. And I'll go, yes, let's go. Let's make this possible. So that's my mindset. And that has helped me tremendously.
Yes,
so
but I'm not going to let you get away with it. So I know. What are some of the problems that we're up against with the new normal, really, with all these trying times that we're facing?
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I see a lot of people doing is retracting. So they're like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the consequences of the global pandemic are. So I better not. So all of my speaking engagements have been cancelled for this year. All of them. And trying to get one is almost impossible. So that really meant that I had to reposition myself. So what am I going to do? Because I'm passionate about supporting the world and creating a positive impact. So I needed to rethink, re-strategize about how can I still accomplish that goal, but change the way that I do it. Mm-hmm. So instead of speaking, how can I still package that knowledge? So I'm working on online courses, I'm working on online programs. But another thing that I have done, because I'm thinking, okay, what can I do? What are the possibilities and opportunities of this same crisis, is have people interview me. Mm-hmm. Because then I can still share my wisdom, I can share my knowledge, and I'm still helping people, even if it's not on a physical stage.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Now let's switch to life lessons. Like, what are some of the biggest takeaways so far in the road you've traveled?
Well, one I shared earlier today on our conversation is that beware of the things that you have adopted from childhood. So mine was work hard and you will achieve the success. And even more so, my father even said, you have to work twice as hard because you're a minority in this country. So you have to prove yourself. So there were two things that really drove me towards many, many years ago. One was hard work, and two is I need to prove myself. Because I assumed that other people would not believe that I'm good at anything and whatever it was. And those two meant that I was always working hard. So I spent a lot of time doing and sacrificing a lot of other things in my life. So hobbies, I didn't have hobbies. I didn't. If you'd asked me, what are you doing? I'm working. Whether it was writing an article, preparing a workshop, doing my actual work, I was working 24/7, as it seems.
Well, I see a lot of books behind you. Did you read books at least for a hobby, or did you consider that actually work?
Well, to be really honest, it used to be fun. I mean, I'm a book lover. I was very young and I loved books of 400-500 pages. Charlotte Bronte, Jane Eyre, I've read them all. And I love to grab one of those books and I could literally sit on my bed, spend 4-5 hours reading it from cover to cover. And my mother would tell you, as soon as I was in that state, you can let a nuclear bomb go off and I wouldn't hear it.
Wow.
Imagine it, a mother calling for dinner and calling 10 times, not getting any response. I was that girl. So I loved books until I went to school and they forced us. It was an obligation to read books. That really turned my love for reading into hate because it was an obligation. Until I had to rediscover. So the story that I shared earlier, I wanted to discover smarter ways of working instead of harder ways. So I read everything on personal development that I could get my hands on, and that rekindled that love. So this is one of my bookcases. I've got 2 of these.
Wow. Lots of books for sure. Now, a lot of the work that I do, Loubna, has to do with aligning your voice with your higher calling. Do you feel that you have achieved that you have aligned, and how are they aligned?
Yeah. Well, when I started my career, and I started as an employee, so I had a job because at that time I thought that's the way you go. When you finish school, you go for a job. And in that first phase, my only goal was I want to grow as a person. So I want to learn as much as I can. So it was all about me until 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I was looking at spending 10 years in my second real job. So I've had many jobs, but second real job. I thought, okay, this is a job that I've spent 10 years on, that I still love. I'm still passionate about what I do. But I took that time to really pause and think about, okay, what if I propel myself, I get in a time machine, propel myself 10 years from now, and I look back to 10 years, what do I want to have achieved in the past 10 years? And for me, the only answer that came to that question was, I want to give back. It's my time to give back because there are too many people struggling. I was told so many times, oh, look, no, you only do what you enjoy doing. And I was like, yeah, aren't you? And people would say no. And I'm like, why? Not realizing that was absolutely normal for me, but was abnormal for them. And it didn't hit me quite too time until I really thought, oh my God, they're really saying it's not normal for them. And I started asking questions. Well, if I can do it, so can you. And then something really weird happened. They would all say, no, because I'm different. What do you mean you're different? I mean, we're all different. That's not the reason why I'm doing only what I enjoy doing and you're not. And that really stuck. I thought, okay, there are too many people thinking they can't have the life that they enjoy. They can't have the career that they can have. They can't do what they enjoy doing 24/7. My calling is to teach them how to do it, to show them that it is possible to only do what you're good at and what you enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's be realistic here. There's got to be some aspects of your business that you actually dislike, and maybe perhaps you're not even as good at, right?
Oh, there's one thing, absolutely, that's accounting. I hate it. I hate it. So that's the very first thing that I outsourced. I have an accountant. I don't do it. I don't. I literally send everything to the lady and say, good luck. Just tell me now what I'm either receiving or paying. And I'd like to hear what I'm paying because that means I've had a good month.
Yeah. And the reason why I bring that up, is because we're not sitting here and saying that owning your business is, what everyone should be doing because that's the way to go or anything like that. What we're saying is align your life and your business and your career with your higher calling, meaning have purpose in what you do, have passion for it, have fun with it, right? But that doesn't mean that it's just going to be all paradise, right? There are some aspects of everyone's businesses that we have to, like you said, outsource, right? So now I want to get into the nitty and gritty here because part of this podcast is really giving people some deliverables, like things that they can go back right away and apply into their businesses, strategies, tips, techniques, things like that. So what is your best tip to get to know your customer base?
My best tip is start with your life vision. So many years ago, I was forced to think about what's the ideal that you want to spend your life. And for me, it took some time to think about it. So if it doesn't come to you, don't worry. That's part of the process. But for me, if I can really choose, I want to travel as much as I can. And I don't want to work 40 hours a day. A week. Sorry, a day. That was a little much. I don't want to work 40 hours. I just don't. I want to work 3 days a week, 3 days a week, 3 weeks a month, and have 3 months per year off.
Nice.
That's my ideal vision for work. And for life is I want to spend as much time as I can with family and friends, and preferably traveling to where the sun is always shining and I can complain about the heat. That's what I love to do.
You should come
So
to Miami then. It's pretty hot right now.
oh, believe me. Oh, I love the sun, and it's and especially warm countries. It's the environment where I thrive. I get way more done in those climates than anywhere else. So that's my ideal. So that meant that when I translate that into, okay, what do I need to have as a business to be able to support that lifestyle? Is that meant I have to have an online business. My business has to be online to some extent to be able to do that. Okay, if I have to do it online, how can I do? What does that look like? Do I want to have a portfolio of courses, or do I want to have 1 or 2 programs and focus only on that? And those are the type of questions that you want to answer. But start with, what is my ideal life instead of only focusing on work? So that's number 1. So what's your life vision? What does that mean for your chunk of work? And whether you have a career, your job, or you're an entrepreneur, it really does not matter, because that's the form in which you're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to have 2 visions, really, and you got to align them, right? You have to have the vision for your life and the vision for your business. And that has to come hand in hand with what you're building, you know. And it's interesting because this dual scenario happens in several instances. You know, yesterday I was talking to a client, Loubna. I'm going to tell you this quick story because it's relevant to what we're talking about. We were talking about creating, defining really and differentiating, like, you know, her really areas of expertise, right? Like what is different that she does from everybody else in the same industry, right? And so we had written this description in Word, right? And she was like, and then I was asking her to write another one, right? And she's like, oh, we already did that. I was like, no, wait a second. You write one to yourself, and then you write one for the world, right? So you always have to have that duality inside of you, and you have to know who you're speaking to, right? So if you're speaking to yourself, you got to have some type of vocabulary and language, right? And if you're speaking, who are you speaking to? Are you speaking to a prospective client? Well, then you got to have one type of vocabulary, right? Or in my case, you know, as I'm always talking to people and trying to gauge if they would be a good fit for this podcast, then I'm having a different kind of vocabulary. I'm talking peer-to-peer, right? As we're both business consultants, coaches, right? So then it's a different type of conversation. So we always have to remember who we're talking to and what kind of vocabulary, what kind of mindset you have to really have some type of amazing conversations, right? So what is the key component for great customer service in your business?
A good question. I guess make a distinction between who you are and what you do. I see a lot of people mixing those two. And who you are is your personality. And most of it is just genetics. Basically, we're born with that type of personality. That personality can change during your lifetime, but not as much as we think it can. It takes a very hefty life experience for it to change a little bit dramatically. And what you do. Now, what I do can be very flexible. I mean, I could be a coach, a mentor, consultant, a speaker, an author. I can talk. I can even act. I mean, that's flexible, but that doesn't change who I am in the core. And I think that is one of the things that trips up most, is that they think that is the same. And that will leave you not being flexible or too flexible. So you get into the extremes. So for me, who I am doesn't change. How I do it, or how my language is, or how my attitude is, or how my behavior is, can vary. I mean, For the people that know me, I'm very direct. I'm very powerful. I'm very dynamic. So a lot of people, when they meet me, think, whoa, that's too much. She is too much for me, which is fine. It's absolutely fine. I know that I can be that person. I can know that that is the impact that I can have on other people. And if you do not like directness, then don't work with me. Please don't, because that's what I do. I get it to challenge you, and I love to challenge you. I mean, there's very little you can tell me that's not possible.
Now, what is the most effective way you have found to generate leads in your business?
Oh, show up. Even if you don't feel like it, show up. I mean, I had to work through not liking video. I didn't like doing this, and especially live. For me, that was, I mean, I'm talking to a screen, for God's sake. So for me, that was like, no. Put me on a stage. Even if there are 1,000 people in the room, I will do it. You can wake me up in the middle of the night and I will not twinge to do that. Put a camera to my face. And I thought, can't do that. And I knew that I had to, because it's one of the ways that I can achieve my goal. I can have a positive impact, that I can share my knowledge. So I work through that. I work through whatever was holding me back on doing videos. Now I don't. I love it as much as I love the stage.
Yes. Now, what helps you convert these leads into paying clients?
Oh, having conversations. Having absolutely conversations where you are honest, where you find out if you're a right fit, because not everyone is going to be a right fit, and really coming from an attitude of service. So I'm a helper. If I can help, and I hate to see someone else struggling, it activates the helper in me, and I help even before I realize what I'm doing. And I think that is the most important thing. One of the things that really I hate is the people that reach out to me from a sales attitude. I want to sell you something and I want to push something down your throat, even if you don't need it. Don't. Please don't. If someone is not ready or not fit, say no.
It's so interesting to hear that, and I want to dive a little bit deeper on that, because at the same time that obviously a sales conversation is just a conversation, right?
Yep.
You also want to drive sales. So you want to be a little pushy, right? Because it's never going to be the right time for people, especially for the things that you're asking them to do, like to change their routines, to be more productive, right? These aren't easy changes, and there's never going to be a best time to do that. So how do you accomplish not being salesy and pushy, but at the same time driving change?
I think that the most important thing is to raise awareness that to change 9 out of 10 times means changing your habits. Now, you can do that alone. You can, but it will take you longer. And if you make someone aware that the fastest way, the most effective way to do that is to have someone guide you and support you on that journey. And if you come at a sales conversation from that place, from that attitude, as in, I'm here to be that guide for you because I know that that's the way that I can be able to support you each and every week. So one of my clients at this moment is someone that only needed accountability around strategy, taking action, goal setting. And every week we hop on a 15-minute call. That's it, 15 minutes. And she reports back to me. Now, my only job is to listen and ask questions. But that helps each and every week to create the feeling of achievement in her brain and in her heart. And she's thinking, okay, I might not have accomplished everything that I set out 7 days ago, but I've at least got something. And now I have to, because I report back to Loubna every week, I have to be able to tell her something. And I know that Loubna will not take any excuse.
She won't buy your stories, guys.
I won't buy your stories.
Here's the thing. How do you use social media to grow your business? Because we were recently talking about your strategy that you're going to do a challenge and it's going to be on Instagram. How are you going to go about it? Like, are you going to drive people? Are you going to have a link there? Like, what exactly is the strategy to basically increase your mailing list?
Well, I haven't up to this point started building an email list, because all of my clients before coronavirus came through word of mouth. I get referrals. And I had enough to keep going. So I didn't need to do anything extra. But since coronavirus, that's one of the things that I had to re-strategize about. So I've done research on my target audience, my ideal clients, and what would help them the most and the biggest challenge that they were having, and what is the type of lead magnet that they need and would be supportive. Because you can create an ebook, which is what most people have done for many years, and they still work. They really still work for some audiences. They won't work for the audience that I'm helping, because most entrepreneurs that come to me come because, Loubna, help, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know where to start or what I'm supposed to do. Now, I could give them an ebook. The only thing that they will recognize is, I'm already overwhelmed. What do you want me to do with 20 pages? I don't have time to read 20 pages. I need to get rid of my overwhelm right now. So in my case, helping them through a quiz or a worksheet that could help them reduce their overwhelm. And I know that that is the way that it could be reduced, because I've done those calls with entrepreneurs, and that's exactly how I helped them. They brain dumped everything, and we ordered it. We gave it, and as soon as it was on paper, the overwhelm was reduced. So it's research, getting in the minds of your ideal client, and really thinking about what's the biggest problem that they come with me right now in their journey, and what lead magnet will be in alignment with solving that problem.
Very key. Now, what is the single best strategy for business that have worked for you?
The single best, I would say, find out, discover your strengths, because you have them. And what you will find out is that some of the strengths you're already playing at, and some are hidden. You've never cultivated them, so they're hidden. Play to those strengths, and make your task in alignment with those strengths. Because right now you might be thinking, oh, but I can't do that task, or I can't do that action. And when you think about your strengths, you discover, you'll find alignment, and you'll go really fast.
Yeah. Loubna, it's been a delight to talk to you today about all of this that we've covered. Productivity, we've covered social media, we've covered what does success means to you, Loubna, and how can we relate to that in the pursuit of defining what success means to us, right? So thank you so much for being here today with me. Guys, if you like what you heard, please share this podcast link with others. Help other entrepreneurs to learn how they can grow their businesses, how they can be more productive, how can they be more at peace with where they're at, how they can be more happy, more alive and aligned, right? So Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yes, Sabrina, thank you for having me, and have fun, people. Have fun.